有，可以。这个声音。
那你们能拿到？
哎，什么叫中国共产党？打就干啥就干啥。
黑也是想讲到，一定要做好准备。就是。该死共产党！不该死共产党，绝不罢休！消灭中共是正义的需要。
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the It's Close to CCP show, and welcome back. Sorry, we started a little late because of some technical issues. But anyway, this is almost end of May, and next week, the June 4th, is the anniversary, the 5th anniversary of the new federal state of China. Also, we want to memorize, it's a memory for the July 4th Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989. A lot of things has happened in the past few years since Mao School started the whistleblower movement and established the new federal state of China. And today we're going to discuss some videos and share some of the points from our audiences with the audiences. And again, welcome Chris and Mr. Truth to our show. And please say hi to our audiences. Hi, Chris.
Hi everyone. I'm happy to be on the show again today. Thank you.
Great. And also welcome Mr. Truth07.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Zee. Hello, everyone. Great to be on the program again, and we're going to expose the CCP. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Yes. So, and just a little bit promotion. So next week on June 4th, the NFSC TV and NFSC Speaks will have a live broadcast about the anniversary of NFSC, and also to memorize our lost loved ones in Tiananmen Square massacre. So please stay tuned for that. And today we're going to first watch some videos because there's recently Miles have told us some kind of insider information that right before the June 4th, the Chinese Communist Party started to arrest some professors and scholars and also students in Beijing universities. And let's watch the interview video with Mr. Steve Bannon, and we'll be right back.
This arrest is such a secrecy. So I understand that the information that Roy just shared with you that listed on the letter is actually indirectly promoting Miles School. Okay, so this is probably, I think, why Xi Jinping and the CCP approached the West in secret. Because they don't want accidentally promoting mild school, giving those CCP members right now under high pressure within the CCP party a place, an alternative to vet. Okay, their grievance and vent their resentment. Do you agree?
I do agree. I mean, I think it's. I think that also is ironic. Look, Miles is the reason Miles is in prison is because the CCP worked with the corrupt Justice Department, the federal court system, to make sure that he got to prison. The trial was a joke. Read the transcripts of the trial. There's a complete joke. Government's really witness tampering, really giving essentially written dialogue to these witnesses. To testify was a complete joke. Look, the regime cannot bear the witness of Chinese Lao Baixing and or people that know the regime talking about what they've done to basically rape and pillage the economy around the Chinese people, and particularly how they've hoarded their wealth. That's what Miles' stock and trade was. That's how Miles became such a major figure in the West. This is why the Voice of America that now we're cleaning out, the Voice of America shut down. The only live interview they shut down was with Miles. And why? He was talking about HSA. And Miles was telling about how it's $1 trillion scam, basically created by the Chinese Communist Party to money launder with American banks. 100% of the stuff he said was true. Later, that was all proven out, right? As they came after him, he countersued, and they all dropped their suits and ran away and then admitted wrongdoing.
Yeah.
So no, he's always been incredibly powerful because he knows the details of how the regime runs. So it's always been a high priority to make sure they shut down. And what the last thing they want is a younger generation of people that would actually look to Miles for leadership, and particularly for knowledge and information. It's paranoia, but it's interesting to use that term because paranoia would be if they were worried and overly concerned about stuff that was false, that they were paranoid about it could be misinterpreted. I think this is different. I think this is actually fear, and it's justified fear because they understand what they've done. They understand what they've done to the Chinese people. They understand what they've done to Lao Baixing, how they break the economy. I mean, we had this previous week, some of the people from Epoch Times have gone on with our people who covered the Vatican about the Vatican secret deal, but particularly about the live organ harvest. And it was one of the biggest shows we've had. The response was unbelievable, although people have talked about live organ harvesting for years. It just reinforced to people how terrible, how awful, how brutal this dictatorship is. And how they really, the people that they take it out, the brutality on the worst are the Chinese people. And so no, I'm not so sure he's paranoid. I think he actually is justified in his fear because he understands if all this was to come out, the regime would be overthrown in 100 days. So he's not paranoid about something that people would misinterpret or would get wrong. And I'm nervous because they're going to have false information and accuse me. He's worried because they're going to get real information from the whistleblower movement, from Miles Guo, from the federal state of China, and others that are in this kind of broader coalition to free the Lao Baixing. And they understand that if this information was fully out there and Lao Baixing was empowered, the regime itself would probably.
It seems like exactly what the CCP, the brutal authoritarian regime, can do to their own people, just like 1989. And we know that also past week, on the Monday, was the Memorial Day, when American people commemorate their lost soldiers during the World War II. But at the same time, we also remember these people, these brave people who died during the Tiananmen Square massacre. So let's go to Chris. So what's your opinion on this? Why the Chinese Communist Party would do this to its own people? Hey, Chris.
You mean why
the Tiananmen Square massacre and what it is doing to these people, and also why the CCP?
Okay, so because the Tiananmen Square protest back in 1989, it could have been a historic turning point for China. But the CCP, they don't want they want to remain their dictatorship in China. They don't want the Chinese people to have rule of law, and they don't want the Chinese people to have the democracy. They also don't want the Chinese people to have a one people, one vote system. So that's why back in Tiananmen Square, even though the students and the Chinese people were protesting peacefully, but in the end, they cooperate with the American traitors. So that's why they massacred the people there, because they don't want the changes in China. They want to remain their total control. That's how I think. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, we know that it's definitely a tragedy. We can see how a brutal authoritarian regime can do its own people to maintain its rule. So let's go to Mr. Truth and to see what's your opinions on June 4th and also about the CCP.
Yeah. Okay. So the June 4th, obviously, that it happens because the Chinese Communist Party felt extremely fear, and the fear about the people know the truth, like the fear know the truth that they live organ harvesting, for example, recently blow out in the Vatican Valley, and also the Falun Gong students, they were all organ harvested because they want to have their own religion, believing in Buddhism and not communism. So I know quite a lot of them inside China, and people, they still under the watch by the police individually, make sure they don't say anything, do anything wrong, and they trying to reform them. The live organ harvesting is one of the biggest business, for example. And in addition to that, the business economics, all the finances, all the export over the last 20, 30 years to overseas, the CCP threw out the so-called exchange system overseas, RMB exchange system. They have captured all the US dollars because of how the export is the receiving the money for trade is US dollars. But then they just minting the RMB into the Chinese manufacturers to pay wages and material. So if we do the revenue exports, say like 30 trillion or 3 trillion US dollars a year, the CCP get the really hot currency of US dollars. Chinese people get nothing. They just get the lowest wage to be paid. This truth is called the thief of the nation, Moscow blowout. That's how much they're stealing from Chinese, hard-working Chinese people. Of course, the fear is justified, okay? Justifiable or justify the fear. That fear, once everyone know about it, what happened? People will start to have a revolution and turn down the whole regime. That's why they're fearful. That's why they build the firewall as well. So that's what Steve K. Bannon said, the Moscow. That's why he been named the #1 enemy of the CCP. Because he has knowingly that he knows he have get all the information. He was, his brother and they were both arrested by the police force and by the police. And then one police trying to shoot his wife, but then his young brother stood in front and get killed. Once they get injured, they were rushed to the hospital. Then the police ordered the hospital not to give him treatment with live blood supply, and just watched him drain to death over the few hours. That's why Moscow, since then, he made a vow, I'm going to take the bloody CCP down. That's why we start to have the whistleblowers movement when he comes to the West. And not only that, he is very, very well prepared. He has, have the Yuda, the hotel, the number 5-star hotel in Henan, and also in Zhengzhou, and also he has built the Hangu in Beijing, the big buildings for hosting the VIP of Olympics, including president of many nations and all the long NGO and World Health Organization, you name it, all the big guys are all there. And then he also told us those guys are sleeping in bed with the CCP. They're just like animals when they go into the nightclubs on there. That's all because that's his property. So they're all video recorded and so on. And he has all the crime evidence. Therefore, they fear both CCP and also the globalist. They are, as Steve K. Bannon said, they are justified fear. So that's damn fearful. They got to be fearful because they have done all the crimes. So that's why the Tiananmen Square massacre, where the Falun Gongs, organ harvesting, or the stealing of the nation, or all the export revenues of US dollars currency are all stolen by the CCP. That's why they're so rich. They can do all the BGYs. They think they can do whatever they can do. But I don't think they can continue once we know the truth. They are in fear, and we can take them down. Truth is so powerful. Thank you.
That's very true. So we're basically exposing the truth about the CCP. So this a series of the comments and everything shows that the Chinese Communist Party cannot represent the Chinese people because the Chinese people are the biggest victims of a small group of kleptocrats who stole the government and trying to rule the people in a very brutal way, and they don't care about that. And also, we can see that in SvenAnna's video is that the CCP only represent a very small group of people's interest in China, and we have to fight them back with together. Okay, let's continue to watch the second video, and we'll be back and discuss more.
Their view that the whistleblower movement Miles School sparked has had a greater impact than, quote, 1,000 troops and 10,000 horses. This is Chinese expression describing a massive military force.
本来想大家聊聊64呢，其实应该
so impactful that
应该我
would
衔接一下，
compare them
下次衔接一
to
下。
powerful army. Steve.
Well, I think it's an army of the awakening. Remember, he said something at the top. I think it's very important people remember. There are 90,000 people in the Chinese Communist Party. That's all there are. So the China's not made up of communists. There's only 90,000 in a population of 1.2 or 1.3 billion. Take your pick. There's only 90,000 cadre members. Of course, a lot of those are just local officials on the block. But if you look down at the 5,000 that really matter, I will bet you 50% are nervous enough about what could happen. They see the corruption, they see the incompetence, they see where this is going, that they're either helping the whistleblower movement, or they're attracted to the ideas of Miles Guo, or they're least sympathetic or empathetic. That's the problem that the regime has, is that people internally, one, don't want to be held accountable if this thing collapses. Number two, think, hey, maybe I'm not on the winning side. So that's why I think the letter is very important, and I think that you should look at these patriots in that regard about the use of the Chinese term. I think the new federal state, particularly in the mainland, and the whistleblower movement grows every day. I can tell that from our traffic, and I can tell that from our support of Getter. That this is very, very, it's quite obvious that this movement's growing every day. I can tell it by when we put videos up, when we do segments of the show, they get tremendous response. So I think they're quite worried about this, and they're worried about legions of actual people joining the whistleblower movement, or legions of people just joining together in mainland China and work to behind the scenes actively overthrow the regime.
Okay, I think Minister Steve Bannon has touting about the whistleblower movement. I think we're making a lot of progress because, as mentioned, next week will be the 5th anniversary of the NFSC, and Miles has started the program, started the movement about more than 8 years ago. There's so many things, and it's also according to the intelligence and the news, and we see that the CCP is not just one piece; it's also divided within its own party. I think it's a great time now we can take down the CCP. What's your opinion, Chris?
Well, I think from this video, it can be understood that the real number of the Chinese Communist Party members is not 90 million, but 90,000, and with only like 5,000 being truly significant. Among these 5,000 people, there are different factions and ideologies, and then thus the enemy is not the Chinese people, but the small minority of authoritarian factions within the Chinese Communist Party. And historically, the Chinese Communist Party has constantly shifted its stance towards the United States, depending on its objectives. The CCP has gone from being anti-American to pro-American, and later to infiltrating and aiming to control the U.S. to take down the world. And in recent years, due to Mr. Miles Guo's revelations, the whistleblower movement, and the founding of the new federal state of China, the U.S. has seen the election of President Trump's and the success of the MAGA movement. The situation is constantly evolving, as is the situation in China, with shifting sentiments within the CCP itself. The Soviet Union was once vast, but ultimately collapsed. Although the CCP is more formidable than the Soviet Union was, there are now internal forces within China pushing for reform, along with forces worldwide urging changes in China, supported by bridges of information exchange between China and other nations, and the power of technology advancement. Thus, dismantling the CCP is not impossible. That's how I think. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I think it's a very important point. Is the CCP is only ruled by a very small group of people. Actually, 5,000. I think even that number may be a little too much. But the trend of taking down the CCP globally is inevitable. Everyone now sees CCP as the biggest threat to the humanity, and it's a good time. And now let's turn to Mr. Truth for more information.
Well, yeah, I think both of you are brilliant, as with SK, Mr. Bannon said. So not only the CCP, the fear of the people awakening is justified, but also that the fear comes from the numbers. The really bad guys is only 5,000, maybe 50,000 at the most. So we got only 24 provinces in China. Each province is, of course, the province governor and the party secretary for the whole province. They are pretty much the CCP. Even among them, they are really much pro new federal state of China. They frequently pass the information to new federal state of China, to Moscow, and then tells what happens. Also, I think Moscow have made a lot of good friends from those guys in the Chinese intelligence community, both military as well as the public defense line. They got 2 lines at least. And these 2 lines, they all come to Pangu, have parties and so on. Moscow is the owner and the boss of the Pangu hotel, the 7-star hotel. So those guys, as long as you are generous enough to feed them with like $10,000, $1 million of a bottle of wine, all those luxuries. After they get drunk, they don't know who the mother is or father is. They just go to the nightclub, of course. They're going to talk, chat. All these are video recorded and so on. So if you're good guys, you don't want to, you basically see, because it's like a pyramid system. The top one is like the chairman or the president, Xi Jinping, for example, and the rest of them just being enslaved as well. So it's like a pyramid structure, the enslaved system. That's how the CCP's organizational structure is. But all of them want power. Also, they are fear of the power people above them. anytime they can be silenced, killed, or the wife can be unwarranted sent to the boss to have sex, so they can save the husband. I mean, some of the daughters, some of the granddaughters, or grandfather, mother even, like Moon Jianzhu was have sex with the fourth generations of the one families. I mean, this is the CCP top members. They just, I don't know what's wrong with them, but they're not care. They don't care about really about the people. They just want to satisfy the desire. So that's the big problem with who they are. So the CCP. That's and have said that. Now the Beijing University have just student just write a letter, go wild in the Chinese social media that Xi Jinping has already, been captured. So he's going to be removed by Hu Jintao and the Tuanpai. So those the Chinese Youth Party. So they're very powerful as well. So I think Xi Jinping's power has already limited. I think you would not be surprised, according to all the leaked information. So, but anyway, for me, this is unverified because I don't have the intelligence or capability to verify. But when there's so many sources are talking about the same thing, I think it's not joking. Even those fake media news also start talking about Xi Jinping may have lost the power as well. That's what happens. Even you are the dictator number one in the top of the pyramids, you cannot guarantee your own safety. So there's media's upload out the Xi Jinping and his family wealth in the United States, somewhat $2 trillion, something like that. So when people start knowing about all that, that's what they can turn down the CCP. And as Mao said, United States don't have to take down CCP, but if you do not give them any market, so in other words, just have maximum tariff as Trump will suggest to do. So no business, the cash flow will drain. They don't have the US dollars. Number two, don't support the technology, especially the technology with quantum computing and AI technology with SIM card, with the chips, okay, semiconductors. Number one, and then number two is do not support the maintenance of the firewall, the Great Firewall, which is a partitioning system. Partition from inside Chinese people, like our brothers sisters, they never be able to see what's happening outside China. All the media is blocked. That's called the firewall. I think that's maintained by Western technology, Israel, United States. If you guys just shut that maintenance down, and so all the Chinese people can see what's happening, what we're seeing, what we're talking about freely, I don't think CCP can last for one day. That's it. Everyone will be on the street. What are you going to do? You want to kill everyone? I don't think that's possible. Plus, you are outnumbered. Okay, so 99% of the Chinese people are being enslaved. Only 1% or less of them really enjoy the wealth, the power, the woman, and the dictatorship. Everything. They're like emperorship. Okay, so this is what Steve K. Bannon talking about. As long as the Western doesn't supply with the market, so they cannot have the cash flow to do the BGY, to keep the weaponized DOJ, continuous suppressing voice of information, also keep Mao's not free from the prison. Okay, which that's what we need to do. Okay, so we don't need Western do nothing. We can take down CCP as long as you don't support them with money, with trade, and don't support them with the technology which silence Chinese people from hear the truth, speak about truth. Thank you.
Thank you both, Chris and Mr. Truth, about this, and I think they clarified the path that we need to take down the CCP and how we can take down the CCP. So we're going to continue the third video, and I think this is very important, as Mao has been doing, especially during the movement. He's trying to demonstrate or showing to the world that the people from the new Federal State of China are different. We're the new people that willing to stay peaceful with the rest of the world and want to establish this civilization and democratic systems back in communist China again, and rebuild the country and to stay peaceful with the rest of the world. That's a very important thing. And I really like to see the next following video showing that the Chinese people can be friends with the rest of the world, and we're going to do that definitely. So let's watch the video and we'll be back.
So very afraid of you, Mr. Bannon, stating that Miles' connection with you and Bill Gates was likely arranged by senior members of the party for anti-CCP. And since you're here with us today, why don't you just tell us how exactly you met Miles?
I met Miles after I left the White House in the fall of 2017, and it was very interesting. I was at the Breitbart Embassy where we do the War Room today. I was working. At that time, I was running, gone back and taken over Breitbart as executive chairman. And there was a big event happening in D.C., and that was Miles Rowe was going to do a live. This is after he had been shut down live in an interview with Voice America for the first time in history. And they actually ran to my office in the White House to inform me what was going on, and I started a formal inquiry. That's when I realized Voice America was completely infested with CCP agents and CCP sympathizers and CCP influencers. But that late 4 months, I think it was in October of 2017, there was an announcement that Miles Rowe was going to do a live from the National Press Club, sponsored by the Hudson Institute. Hudson Institute was one of the most prestigious national security institutes in Washington, D.C., was going to do a live, I think, press conference. I think even Bill Gates was going to do the question. He was going to make a statement. Then he was going to do a live press conference about unveiling corruption at the highest levels and infiltration of the U.S. government and corruption at the highest levels of the CCP. And of course, we were going to cover it. And actually, we were setting up to, although we just had the website at the time, live stream it and also have our correspondents there. When national news broke that the thing had been canceled at the last, and it had been canceled because they'd had a DDoS attack on the Hudson Institute website, or I think on the National Press Club's website, and a bunch of law firms had been attacked. Miles' law firm had been a massive cyber attack that clearly came from the CCP. Mm-hmm. And it was huge news. And so when this was canceled, Bill Gates contacted me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in meeting Miles?" This is Bill Gates, who I've known to work with, who's certainly the most anti-CCP guy around. And I said, "What?" And he said, "He's getting back over to the Hay Adams Hotel." And then I went over and met Miles and really spent about the next 5 or 6 hours just with Bill Gates, having Miles tell me the entire story. And it was absolutely amazing. I mean, he's one of the most impressive men I've ever met in his story and knowledge of the CCP, given I had pretty good knowledge. And Gertz was one of the smartest guys. We were blown away by the depth of detail. And he told me what he was about to present, and it actually shocked me. And I could understand why the CCP shut it down. What had shocked me is that more people hadn't gotten together to make sure that could actually be put forward to the American people, because everything Miles told the American people, whether it's about the CCP in Hong Kong, whether it's about the pandemic, was about their infiltration techniques, everything Miles about stolen wealth, everything Miles has told us has been correct. So that was an important day, because the CCP essentially had a military attack, a cyber attack in this regard, which is, as you know, we have a cyber command, a combatant command in the American military. One big command depending on half, because cyber and Chinese military different. Cyber, and this is one of the things we do in all the cultures the CCP have into the infrastructure of the United States. And so this was really the first, I think, outright cyber assault of the Third World War of the Chinese Communist Party against the American people, and actually shutting down the Hudson Institute, National Press, major law firms, in an assault to make sure that Miles Rowe couldn't have a repeat of the April interview on Voice of America. Remember, the Voice of America interview, I think it was supposed to be an hour, and I think, or an hour or two, and Miles was 45 minutes into it. 3 hours. Miles almost an hour into it was shut down. And they didn't want, obviously, they wanted Miles to come and give 2 seconds of interview here. So it was a major event, and that's how I met Miles. So no, it was the exact opposite of the CCP. Although I don't doubt for a second, given Miles's level of information, and particularly what he was prepared to tell that day. And if you look back at HSA and what he knew about the biggest financial scam that's hit China in 30 years, he clearly knew that from people that were inside the Chinese Communist Party, particularly the finance ministry, to know the level of detail he had. Miles had people leaking in information, and there were actual whistleblowers.
Yeah, we know that Mao Guo has been touting the truth to the rest of the world and about the CCP, and but he's still currently suppressed and by the Chinese Communist Party and his colluders. And we hope he will be out. He will be free very soon. And let's ask Chris. So, what do you think that we can help the United States and also the Chinese people?
Well, first of all, I would like to share my view about the video, and then I will let you know how we can do that. So first, that since Mr. Mousego began exposing the CCP in 2017, a vast network of Chinese Communist Party infiltration forces in the United States has been revealed. Why was the Hudson Institute press conference so significant? Everyone knows InfoWars, right? Mr. Alex Jones, over a decade ago, had been warning the world about viruses and toxic vaccines and the globalist agenda to reduce the population and to control human mankind. But by 2017, finally, someone from China emerged, bring authentic, top secret intelligence document from within the CCP. These were said to be revealed to the world. The CCP's 1357 plan, the 3F plan, and even the antidote. This could have fundamentally shifted the world's perception of so-called conspiracy theories. We know the term conspiracy theory is used to smear those who speak out the truth. But with this tangible evidence, they would have no way to deny the fact. These documents not only expose a massive web of CCP infiltration in the US, but also brought to light the forces of justice in America. The CCP's attack on the press conference demonstrate just how terrified they were of the truth being exposed. It also catalyzed collaboration between the forces of justice in America and China. I'm referring to Mr. Steve Bannon and Mr. Mousego. So, if the good people in China and also the good people in America and also the good people in the world can work together and then take down the Chinese Communist Party, then we can solve all the problems that we are facing. And so it's important that all the good people in the world work together and then bring down the Chinese Communist Party. And in that way, we can have a real we can bring a real peace to the whole world. Thank you.
Exactly. Hopefully, we can all work together to take down the communisms globally, not just within China, but also inside of the Western world. And then let's ask Mr. Truth for his comments, please.
Just to continue with both Steve K. Bannon and Chris's comment. So the CCP's fear is really justified because the fact is true. The fact is true. Mousego whistleblowed in the Voice of America, and then it was 3 hours of interview, but cut down half because the CCP actually is a famous movement from Gong Xiaxia, okay, like that. indicate that on the phone, the CCP from the Chinese embassy in the United States said that you must stop what you interview with Mao Score live. Okay, and then they surrendered, shut. That's why there's no more Voice of America. That was my favorite radio station when I was living in China 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So that was, the only enjoyable radio I can hear the truth about, what's happening in the world. But that's been BGY, infiltrated by the CCP. And talking about the Hudson Institute, consequently, Mao Score arranged the Hudson Institute arranged Mao Score as a keynote speaker about, the BGY, not only the BGY, to weaponize. Weaponize DOJ and all the U.S. government and the NGOs and so on. But also, most importantly, the CCP makes sure that any truth should not be, spread in the social media, in the mainstream media as well, especially in the security institute, the top conferences. The top politicians and the intelligence communities, which Mao Score is going to explode the 13579 plan. You know what that plan is? That plan is a biological plan to take over the United States and the West, and to kill the white, like the South African president did. Okay, this whole incident happened because the CCP used the money, One Belt, One Road, to corrupt and to hijack those small countries, the president, or even big countries. Okay, like a Biden administration, his son do a big deal with that. That's why Mao Score in the jail. It's a whole political, prosecution. So that's the truth about it. Any Americans, any people don't wake up into the truth Mao Score trying to blow out or has been blown out to the rest of the world. And you're not going to be living very long. You're not going to enjoy yourself. I mean, the financial system is going to crap because the CCP has stolen so much money. Same as the deep state, like Elon Musk's, Doge. They found out so much money missing. Okay, so that since in China is openly, the CCP have the power, control the bank. They just steal all the export revenues, not the profit. Okay, you know how much money they got? They got a lot of money. They come to the bitcoins. They're going to engage next with unrestricted warfare. It's not just simply silence your computer and hack your computer and then silence your broadcasting capacities and so on. But actually, physically going to terminate any resistance, whether it's inside the United States, okay, or outside. I mean, in China, it's easy. Organ harvesting. You don't listen to them, then you just disappear. That's why the crematory business, owned by the Wang Qishan, is the number one grow business in China. So because the people are dying due to COVID-19 and organ harvesting, the numbers are accelerating. Unbelievable. So think about it. Once the Chinese people is allowed to hear the truth without the Western maintenance of the firewall, then they can listen to what we're talking about. Everyone can turn on the phone and they can see it. Then when the truth is there, people talk about it in the 3-5 days. Come on, those guys are so bad. I mean, the CCP bad guys are very outnumbered. All the police force, all those military, they will see that as well. What they think? They're gonna shoot back very quickly. I know that's where the revolution is. The CCP is so good at that because the Westerns are coordinated with them together, use the high technology to silence the truth. That's what we don't want to that. That's why Mao Score's Hudson's River speech also, it just started. Then this information are so important. Biological weapon plan, how to do the bad viruses, like how to create misinformation, disinformation, use all the Western mainstream medias, and then smear all those, speak out the truth, and all those is now should be past history. So we need to really see what happens to free Mao Score ASAP. So Mao Score can come to our National Day, the 5th anniversary of new federal state of China. Okay, that's in coincidence, in continuity with the spirit of 1989, June the 4th, the Tiananmen protest and the tank man and all the Deng Xiaoping's Chinese army police force shooting people in the Tiananmen Square, all these massacres. That's why the origin of whistleblowers movement started from my school. His brother is killed by those police forces while they're both supporting the students. So that's the truth we want the world to know. Back to you.
We can, if hopefully the administration can be more straightforward, just lay out all the evidences and show to the world, and people will realize the danger of the communism. And when people waking up, and they will be disappeared within a second or very short period of time. Okay, now we're running out of time. Let's watch the 4th video, and we're going to use a few minutes to conclude the show today. Please, director, please.
To the American public and the world, and reimpose tariffs. If the Chinese break the deal no longer exists, and therefore President Trump needs to show will. He needs to show Xi Jinping that he's not afraid of the Chinese. And that's what the Chinese are now saying to their own people, that they got the best of the U.S. and that China is strong and the United States not only is weak, but is in terminal decline. Now, in that type of situation, you can't cooperate with a leader like that. And we got to do something that we Americans don't want to do, and that is not to assume the best of other countries. So, yes, we've got to go after Xi Jinping. And then Vladimir Putin might notice that act of will. But if we don't do that, the Chinese and the Russians, they're just going to continue assaulting us.
Yeah, and throw Iran in there as well, because China is backing all the bad guys. China is backing Iran, backing Russia, all in the face of President Trump trying to create peaceful atmospheres across the world.
Yes, Xi Jinping is waging proxy wars. He's supporting Russia and Ukraine. He's supporting Iran in Israel. He's supporting Pakistan against India, and he's destabilizing North Africa. He is setting the world on fire.
Yes, Gordon is very straightforward and telling that what exactly we need to do. So hopefully we can follow this, and the CCP should be ended very soon. And yeah, it's my biggest hope for now. And let's go to Chris and then Mr. Truce.
Okay, so to deal with the CCP, we must focus on 2 key areas, which are Mr. 007 mentioned: money and technology. We know the impact of tariff on the CCP's economy, and President Trump has the upper hand. However, the CCP does not report truthfully. Its propaganda machine is highly skilled at distorting facts and brainwashing people, even more deceptive than CNN. Even a failed policy will be spun as a success by the CCP. The CCP operates like a mafia, so we must be tougher than them. Before the CCP collapse, expecting their propaganda machine to report truthfully is impossible. Thus, we must hit the CCP hard, making the Chinese people realize that reality is not as the CCP's propaganda portrays. These will accelerate the awakening of the Chinese people and catalyze their resistance against the CCP. Thank you.
Exactly. We're going to resist the CCP and say no. And the first one, sanction them economically first. Okay, now let's Mr. Truce to conclude our show today, please.
Thank you, Zee. Thank you, Chris. So obviously by now we know the world should definitely stood up, say no, especially the United States. Once all the truth is here, according to Mr. Gordon Chan on the CNN, and then we're going to be very firm send a message directly to Xi Jinping. No, you cannot do that. You're a bunch of liars, and you have done the worst. You started with, as Miles goes at the 1357 plane, used the biological weapon, released intentionally, killed Americans, killed. You also, used your economic superpower, being the second largest economy in the world, and also your stolen technologies, fighting edges, and communication systems, computing, and so on, intercontinental missiles, and also short and medium-term missiles. It supported the Middle East war, killed a lot of innocent people, including the Israeli people, soldiers, families, hostages, and also Iran as well. So you support the Iran dictatorship, trying to use RMB, but this time I think they say no, so they surrendered. And then Russia too. So if President Trump, according to the court, then we as a leader of the free world, we must say to Xi Jinping, no, you can't do that, and we're going to create the same countermeasures and take you down. I'm going to tell the world the truth. We're going to we have the evidence that you are the ones who enjoy the intentional spread of the biological weapon of the virus, COVID-19 virus. But not only that, also supported all the manufacturing of the jabs and so on, and also killed so many Chinese people, and made the crematory business and organ harvesting business, both are the world #1 list company businesses. If it's a list, there will be bigger than many top 500 companies. This is based on the killing people, making money. I mean, that's just so ridiculous. So the West and all must follow my scores, say no to the CCP, expose the truth, and let the Chinese people take them down. Number 2 is to really no longer maintain, the silence of the Chinese people. That's the only way they can enslave us. By what? By taking the maintenance of the firewall. That is the must. If you continue to support the CCP like that, you are part of it. You are part of it. When the Chinese people are free, I mean, someone has got to be held accountable. But of course, I mean, the CCP is sources. So please, just do what God tell you guys to do, and be brave, and don't get BGY. Even the BGY, we understand they're so evil. Then you just come out and by tell what happens. So we can all together take down CCP, so your family, your wife, your daughters can be safe without get raped by the CCP and by all the devils. That's most important for all of us as a basis of security and living happily. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's take down.
Thank you so much, and it is a great time. And like I said, next week will be the 5th anniversary of the NFSC, I think historical time that we're gonna witness the collapse of the Chinese Communist Party, and the new era is coming, and with all the people who will live in a healthy, peaceful, and have a good life. Okay, so again, please stay tuned to the NFSC live broadcast next week on June 4th. And thank you very much, Chris and Mr. Truce, for coming to the show. Thank you for watching the program, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Have a good one.
Thank you, Zee. Thank you, everyone. Take down
共产党、共产主义，它的本质是什么？灭掉上天，灭掉自然，灭掉信仰，灭掉真相，灭掉自我，拉仇恨。我们黄皮肤没有问题，问题的根源，共产党。共产党正在走向疯狂，共产党正在走向死亡。他的每一个行动，和他的每一个傲慢，和每一个恐惧，导致的他的行为和结果，都是对爆料革命的巨大打击，都将成为他未来受审判的证据。中国人是有正义感的，只有我们爆料革命，让中国人在西方真正的站起来，让中国人在西方团结起来。我们有一个共同的病毒，叫 CCP 病毒。 我们有一个共同的敌人，
The Chinese Communist Party.
叫 CCP。
Chinese Communist Party. The CCP.
我们有一个共同的理想和目的，干掉 CCP。西芒星的含义就是再造华人的信仰系统。
新中国联邦宣布成立。
为中国人民捍卫自由、安全、法治和信仰自由，这都是很关键的。
这就是天意，这就是报应。挡得住吗？挡不住，因为报应是你自己造的。
这就叫轮回。共产党，你完了，你彻底的完了。
共产党、共产主义，它的本质是什么？